Hi everyone, how you doing? I didn't even check my microphone. I think I've got the right one. I need to check these things before I go live. It is Wednesday, 4:44 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, August 10th. The price of Bitcoin is $23,882. The price of Ethereum is $1,853. Everything is up pretty substantially on the CPI news that inflation is, for the time being, down from where it had been. So everybody's pretty amped about that. Bitcoin's up 3%, Ethereum's up 8.5%. And the other little microcap coin that I usually mention is just straight sideways. We're not even going to talk about that. Don't know why I bring it up. Let's go to the tabs, shall we? It's been an interesting day on Twitter. It really has. Aside from the price action and CPI, that's interesting. Everybody else is talking about that. But I have been in a back and forth with several people on Bitcoin maximalism. Should I even use that word? My video got censored once. It got a strike against it from YouTube when all I was doing was talking about Bitcoin maximalism. I don't know how that word is a taboo word, but that is the only thing that I said in that video, so I have to assume that that's what triggered it. Anyway, I have been in a back and forth on Twitter all day about this very topic, primarily with Brandon Espinoza, who is somebody that has been in my orbit for a long time, though we don't know each other very well IRL, do we, Brandon? If you're out there watching, have we met in real life? Most of our exchanges are just on Twitter, aren't they? He's a senior digital asset product manager at Bullish. Brandon and I were going back and forth on whether maximalism was good, whether toxicity was an asset or a detriment to the Bitcoin movement. And then Corey Clipston chimed in. Corey, the founder of Swan Bitcoin. This was, after all, initially a back and forth between him and Munib Ali. Now, if you're not familiar with Corey, I'll give you the quick recap. Corey was a private equity manager. He worked at Morgan Stanley, and then he was at McKinsey, and then he started Swan Bitcoin in 2017. That's when he joined the community. He's now become a de facto face for the Bitcoin movement. If there's no greater evidence for that than the article last week in the New York Times, there it is, literally the face of Bitcoin maximalism, because that's all this article was really about. And here's Corey front and center. He is the archetypal figure for the maximalist movement. But in this thread, he's saying that Stacks is an affinity scam. STX token is I don't even like that word. I really don't. I find it crass and off-putting. I'm going to say altcoin. And then Munib Ali, who is the founder of Stacks, chimed in here. If you're not familiar with Munib, he has been in the space for a very long time. He gave a TED Talk 5 years ago on distributed computing. He has a PhD from Princeton in distributed computing that he finished in 2017. He went through Y Combinator in 2014 with his his startup initially called OneCoin, then called Blockstack, and now called Stacks. It is a layer 2 built on top of Bitcoin with its own token. And this is the point of disagreement that Corey has with Munib. He's saying any other token, this is the maximalist stance, this is the core maximalist tenet. Any other token is garbage. Period, full stop. That's the end of the discussion. Do you have another token? Yes, it's garbage and you're a liar and a cheat and a scammer. My contention is, okay, is it possible for people to have honest disagreements? Is it possible that this person just doesn't agree with you, right? You're a believer that all money will be sucked into the gravity well of sound money that is Bitcoin. We don't live in a world with sound money right now, and so we don't have another experience of that other than to go way back and to say that people used gold. There's the assumption that we will go back to a one money system and that money will be Bitcoin. Maybe that will happen. I'm not entirely persuaded that it will happen, that it's the only outcome possible. But the maximalist crowd absolutely believes this. It's a article of faith. Corey attacks Munib. Munib defends, and then I jump in and I start saying, hey, listen, is it really constructive to be this harsh in your tone rather than to drill down on actual issues and find where the disagreement, the difference of opinion actually lies? And then Corey chimes in at the end. If you are interested in that dialogue, I will not regale the whole tale here, other than to say it's an interesting and ongoing discussion. It is obviously a recurring theme on this channel. It's something I can't get my head out of because I think it's actually really important. Maximalism, people have been kicked out of the de facto orthodoxy of maximalism. People like Nick Carter and Udi Wertheimer, Eric Wall, most recently Matt, I talked about him in my last stream, Matt, who was a core developer on the Bitcoin Core code. Matt basically said that maximalism is a real cultural problem. Now, a number of those people have said that maximalism is dying. I think they're dead wrong. And I don't know where they're even getting that. I only see it rising in prominence and numbers. Another person who agrees with me on this is Balaji Srinivasan, who in his most recent interview with Tim Ferriss said that maximalism, Bitcoin maximalism, is the most important global movement that people do not know about yet. Balaji has a tendency to be very, very right about these things. And somebody like Nick Carter, who had just been very hurt by that community, I think had some motivated cognition. He said it's a dying movement, just as he was leaving the movement. A number of others have said the same thing. I think they're totally wrong. I also do not think that toxicity is constructive. So here I am in the middle, taking issue with everybody, criticizing everyone. That gets you a lot of friends. Sure didn't work for me. If this thread interests you at all, if the topic interests you, I have linked it below in the description. I am not going to spend all of our time on this. I'm going to move on. I'm going to look at Stacker News. If you're not on Stacker News, I do highly recommend it. Stacker.news. This is very much like Hacker News, but it is focused on Bitcoin and Lightning, and it uses Lightning because you pay to engage on the platform. If you upvote something, what you do is you tip that person in sats. Both posts and comments can get upvoted, and your posts cost a little bit of sats. And yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I find that it is a focused conversation on Bitcoin and Lightning, which I really like. So definitely engage there. It's super easy. It's a fun way to use sats to actually engage with the cryptocurrency, to send it back and forth. Give it a try. Use Lightning. Number of different things popped up on here. One of which was, it was this thing from Coinbase. Is the Bitcoin Lightning Network for real? A blog post from Coinbase, the one and only. This was posted today. It's an 8-minute read. It is a rather long read, honestly, for somebody who's used to reading tweets like me. They have a number of interesting things to say in here, one of which is Lightning has the potential to replace existing payment processors for fiat transactions without the consumer knowing that BTC was used as the underlying settlement layer. We'll explain. They continue to dive into the fact that Lightning offers payment transactions of any size, small or large, for very, very, very low transaction fees, where a conventional payment processor does 2 to 3%. That is a burden that almost all retailers just have to absorb. But if they could increase their margins even a little bit, that makes a big difference to their bottom line. So something like Lightning could be really good. They explain that there's a lot of development happening on the Lightning Network right now, but they also talk about some hurdles. Let's talk about those. The potential, funding, and momentum is there. However, significant hurdles remain. Principally, the lack of developer tools. We will talk about that. Demand for payment use cases. Didn't you guys just say that this could replace Visa and MasterCard? Technical hurdles, onboarding challenges, as well as compliance and regulatory issues. Okay. First of all, you're saying that there's a lack of developer tools. Well, the one and only Jack Dorsey is committed to doing that. He left Twitter. He is now working on developing Lightning tools specifically. LDK for supporting Bitcoin payments, Lightning Developer Kit. Block is developing this. Dorsey is a hardcore Bitcoin believer, man. And he is pushing that not for his own enrichment. The man, I believe Jack Dorsey has reached a point where he is not the richest man in the world, nor is he driven to become the richest man in the world. He's got plenty. He knows he's got plenty. He wants to do something meaningful and important and good. And he sees that Bitcoin can do that. He sees that Lightning can do that. And he is pushing Lightning through Block. So Jack Dorsey is developing the Lightning Developer Kit, which is going to address the first criticism that the Coinbase blog post mentions here. Lack of developer tooling. Next criticism, demand for payment use cases, or lack of demand. Well, earlier in this very same blog post, you said that this could replace retail payments, 2 to 3% for credit card fees. That seems like a pretty big use case to me. And Jack Mallers at Bitcoin 2022 in April announced that you could actually use Lightning on a wide variety of different retail store locations because they'd integrated with one of the biggest payment processing networks in the country. So I actually don't think that that's the hurdle that you say it is. Demand for payment use cases, man, people could do that today at a lot of different retail stores, lots of them. Technical hurdles. Okay, that's pretty generic. There are technical hurdles on everything technical. That gets obfuscated away as developers continue to develop. That's the work of technology, is to make it seem like magic. It just works. Onboarding challenges, that's real, that's true, but that is also getting done away with by the works of Jack Mallers and others who are pushing for adoption in retail, as well as compliance and regulatory issues. Okay, there's your real hurdle. That's the one that's going to hurt. That's the one that's going to be difficult. Because Bitcoin is fundamentally, on a very deep level, it is fundamentally at odds with the state and the state's monopoly on money. You will have elected representatives who see that this is a populist movement and it is good, but they're going to have to fight against a corrupt system. They're going to have to fight against entrenched incentives in Washington, D.C. that don't want to see this succeed. As we've seen, the SEC is not pro-crypto. It's barely, allowing Bitcoin to get a pass. I think that the compliance and regulatory issue is the real hurdle that needs to have focus on it. If that can be dealt with successfully, the rest of this becomes a non-issue. It's just a matter of time. All right, moving on. Oh, and this post from Coinbase, it actually, in a lot of ways, reminds me of this post from Swan Bitcoin from 5 days ago. This is from Lynn Alden, the renowned Lynn Alden, a great analyst in the Bitcoin space, who explains the ins and outs of Lightning and how great it is. Swan, of course, founded by the one and only Cory Klippsten, mentioned earlier. This begs the question, though, with Coinbase posting this, is Coinbase about to accept Lightning? And they address this themselves. When Coinbase? This article should not be construed as an indication that Coinbase has imminent plans to add support for Lightning. Rather, a few employees of the company simply found its potential compelling enough to research, write, and share. Great. Glad to hear that a few employees think it's potentially important, compelling, and they wanted to research, write, and share. What this does tell me, though, is that it's definitely on your radar, Coinbase. And I think if what you're saying earlier in this same article, that adoption is growing, and they do say that, right? They say that Lightning was launched in 2018 and has seen wide adoption since then. If that just continues, Bitcoin Lightning network capacity just keeps growing. We're at a new all-time high virtually every day on that one. It's almost like the Bitcoin price 200-week moving average. It only moves up. The real question is, to what degree? How much does it move up in a given period? The Lightning Network continues to grow. Its utility is clearly clearly demonstrated. So while they're rejecting this, saying it shouldn't be construed as an indication that Coinbase has imminent plans to add support for Lightning, great, maybe their plans are not imminent. I do think that the wheels are starting to turn over there, though. And this is not the first time this has been introduced. People have been clamoring and calling on Coinbase to accept Lightning, to integrate with Lightning for a long time. Coinbase just integrated Polygon, the Polygon network for deposits and withdrawals for a number of different cryptocurrencies. It's not like they're not accepting other chains. They are integrating. And yes, I know Lightning's not a chain, but you understand what I'm saying. I think this is coming. I think it's a matter of time. Not because I think Coinbase is some enlightened, brilliant actor in the in the space. I think they actually do a lot of terrible stuff. Case in point, where is it? No, maybe I don't have that up. Womp womp. Sorry. Oh, this is it. This is what I was going to say. I don't think that Coinbase is some enlightened actor doing only good in the space. I think Brian Armstrong has done a lot to hurt the Bitcoin movement by putting so much emphasis on crypto. Also, their recent partnership with BlackRock seems incredibly ominous to me. BlackRock, though I haven't done deep research on BlackRock, the appearance, the aura of BlackRock is one of giant evil mega corporation dead set on dominating the planet. And subjugating all people. That seems to be their MO. Larry Fink, sure plays the devil himself in a big way when you look at what he says and what he does. It's not to say that they're not smart. It's not to say that they shouldn't be taken seriously. They should. They're very smart actors. They're very powerful actors. I don't trust their intentions. I don't think that they are good, capital G, good. The way I think somebody like Jack Dorsey is actually good, capital G, good. Coinbase is in bed with them. I don't really trust Coinbase. I think they're probably going to integrate Lightning for their own self-interest, which is ultimately a good thing for all of us. Okay, moving on. Here's an interesting thing that just happened, and thank you, Stacker News, for pointing this out. We just added to the Bitcoin blockchain a 2.58 megabyte block, the biggest so far, which is an interesting thing to notice. Bitcoin block size has been a big deal. In fact, we had a whole civil war about this in 2017. In 2017, Bitcoin's block size limit was replaced by a block weight, a limit of 1 million weight units. This changed how data in blocks is counted. Some data weighs more than others. Perhaps more importantly, it also represented an effective block size limit increase from 1 megabyte. Bitcoin blocks now have a theoretical maximum size of 4 megabytes and a more realistic maximum size of 2 megabytes. So according to Bitcoin Magazine, realistic maximum size is 2 megabytes. We just had one that was 2.58. So we exceeded what is deemed the realistic maximum size. It's the largest block we've ever had. Interesting times. The Human Rights Foundation, Human Rights Foundation's Bitcoin Development Fund announced a 375 million Satoshis across 10 Q3 gifts. That is a heck of a headline, guys. It's hard to parse. What does this mean? Well, it means that the Human Rights Foundation, headed by Alex Gladstein, a group meant to fight oppression and really centralized governments, right? Authoritarians, that's the word I'm looking for. Authoritarian rule. The Human Rights Foundation, set to fight authoritarian rule. They've adopted Bitcoin as one of their core tools to drive freedom in the world. And they have a Bitcoin Development Fund. They announced that they are distributing 375 million Satoshis across 10 gifts. What does that mean, 375 million Satoshis? Well, thank you, Kraken, for providing this handy Satoshi converter. 375 million Satoshis is 3.75 Bitcoin, or about 90,000 US dollars right now. So, good job, Human Rights Foundation. I really like them. I am an admirer of Alex Gladstein. He is somebody that I have met before, and in fact, in 2017 and 2018, I attended the Human Rights Foundation event in New York, their Oslo Freedom Forum event there, and was working with a crypto startup that contributed a great deal to that effort. So, that's what I got today, folks. It's a short stream. If you can't tell, sorry, that cough was fortuitously timed. I am ill. I do not feel well. In fact, I've got probably some pink eye. Woke up this morning and my eyes were glued shut. Little TMI. Sorry, folks, but that is the truth. So I'm going to keep it short today. I am not going to talk a whole lot more. My throat hurts. Let me know down below what you would like to talk about in the future. We will cover it all in a future stream. Thanks, team. Take care of yourself. Stack sats. Be free.